Lily was a little girl with eyes as wide as saucers. She was always wondering about things. What made the sky blue? Why did cats purr so loudly? Most of all, she wondered about stories. She loved stories more than chocolate biscuits. She loved them more than her fluffiest teddy bear. Her small room was filled with books. Books with dragons, books with fairies, and books with talking animals. Lily lived in a rather ordinary house. It was on a rather ordinary street, in a rather ordinary town. She longed for a proper adventure. A real thumping, heart-pounding adventure, just like in her books. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Lily was exploring. She was exploring the dustiest, spookiest part of her house. This was the attic, of course. It smelled of old, forgotten things and secret spiders. Cobwebs hung like ghostly curtains. Sunlight peeked through a tiny, grimy window. It was there, tucked beneath a pile of old hats, that she saw it. It was not an ordinary book. Oh no, not at all. This book shimmered with a soft golden light. It had a cover like a rainbow, and it seemed to hum, just a little. Lily tiptoed closer, her heart thumping like a tiny drum. The book was warm to touch. It had no title on its cover, just swirling patterns of silver and gold. As she reached for it, a tiny whisper escaped from its pages. "Open me," it seemed to sigh. "Open me, little one, and step inside." Lily, being a tremendously curious child, did not hesitate for very long. Who could resist a whispering book after all? She thought of all the adventures it might hold. She imagined fantastical lands and peculiar creatures. With a trembling finger, she unfastened the tiny golden clasp. The book creaked open slowly. A gust of wind, smelling of cinnamon and old paper, rushed out. It swirled around Lily, tugging at her hair and her dress. The pages began to glow brighter and brighter. They glowed like 1,000 fireflies having a party. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Come in, Storyland awaits you." Lily felt a strange pulling sensation. It was as if an invisible hand was gently inviting her forward, into the light, into the story. With a gasp and a giggle, Lily tumbled forward. She tumbled right into the glowing pages of the book. It wasn't a nasty fall, mind you. Oh no, it was more like sliding down a rainbow, a soft, bouncy, colorful rainbow. She twirled and swirled through a tunnel of shimmering lights. Stars twinkled past her ears. Funny little musical notes floated by, humming cheerful tunes. It was the most extraordinary journey, far more exciting than the bus to school, or even the wobbly roundabout in the park. Then, with a gentle bump, she landed. She landed as softly as a feather on a cloud. Lily found herself standing on a narrow path. But this was no ordinary path made of boring gray stones. Good heavens, no. This path was made entirely of gingerbread crumbs. It sparkled with sugar crystals. It smelled absolutely delicious. Lily couldn't resist. She bent down and picked up a crumb. It tasted of ginger and magic and adventure. She knew, right then and there, this was going to be splendid. Around her, Storyland burst with color. The sky was a brilliant shade of lavender. Fluffy clouds shaped like sheep and teapots drifted lazily by. The trees were not green, as trees usually are. Some were bright pink, like candy floss. Others were striped like peppermint sticks. Their leaves rustled with a sound like turning pages. The air itself felt different. It was warm and sweet. It smelled of freshly baked cakes, wild strawberries, and the exciting scent of brand new crayons. Everything seemed to be alive and buzzing with a gentle energy. Lily took a deep, happy breath. Her ordinary town seemed a million miles away. This place was anything but ordinary. It was extraordinary. It was fantastical. It was exactly what she had always dreamed of. A little thrill danced up her spine. She wondered what amazing things she would see, what peculiar creatures she might meet. The gingerbread path stretched invitingly before her. It led towards a dense, mysterious-looking forest. Well, thought Lily, a grin spreading across her face, an adventure must begin somewhere. And so she took her first step. The gingerbread path led Lily straight into the Whispering Woods. And what a peculiar woods it was. The trees were tall and twisty. They had bark that looked like wrinkled old faces. As Lily walked past, the trees would lean down. They would whisper secrets in her ear. Some secrets were silly. "The squirrel in the oak tree wears purple socks," one tree chuckled. Some secrets were riddles. "What has an eye but cannot see?" another tree murmured. Lily giggled. She loved riddles, even if she didn't always know the answers right away. It wasn't just the trees that were unusual in these woods. Oh dear me, no. The flowers were quite remarkable too. Bright bluebells chimed like tiny bells when the wind blew. Cheerful daisies with sunny yellow faces sang little songs. They sang songs about sunshine and dewdrops and friendly ladybirds. If Lily stopped to listen, she could hear their sweet, high-pitched melodies. Some flowers even giggled if she tickled their petals. It was a chorus of gentle sounds, a symphony of the strange and the wonderful. The woods were incredibly beautiful. Sunlight dappled through the colorful leaves. It made dancing patterns on the gingerbread path. Strange and wonderful butterflies with wings like stained glass windows fluttered by. Tiny glowing mushrooms lit up the darker corners of the woods. They pulsed with a soft, warm light. Lily felt as if she had stepped into one of her favorite storybooks, a book filled with magic at every turn. She half expected a fairy or a gnome to pop out from behind a toadstool. But even though it was beautiful, the whispering woods also felt a tiny bit spooky. The shadows stretched long and wiggly between the trees. Sometimes the whispers of the trees sounded a little sad, or a little bit lost. Lily clutched the now ordinary-looking magical book to her chest. It felt comforting in this strange new place. She knew she had to be brave. Adventures, after all, often had spooky bits. That's what made them proper adventures. She took another gingerbread crumb for courage, and she walked on. As Lily ventured deeper into the whispering woods, she heard a peculiar sound. It was a sort of buzzing, humming, snuffling sound. It seemed to be coming from behind a very large, mushroom-shaped bush. Being a curious girl, Lily peered around the leaves, and there she saw the most extraordinary creature. It was fluffy and round. It had the stripy body of a bumblebee, but it had the furry head and cuddly paws of a teddy bear. Tiny, sparkly wings buzzed furiously on its back, keeping it hovering just above the ground. The creature sniffled sadly, dabbing its eyes with a large daisy. Oh dear, it mumbled to itself. Whatever shall we do? It's all going dim." Lily stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said politely. "Are you all right?" The creature jumped, yelped, and did a little flip in the air. It landed with a soft plop on a mossy patch. "Goodness gracious me!" it exclaimed, its voice a warm, rumbly buzz. "A little human! How perfectly peculiar! My name is Barnaby Bumble. I'm a bumble bear, you see. And no, I'm not quite all right, I'm afraid," Barnaby Bumble explained, with a sigh that ruffled his fur. That Storyland was in trouble. "The heart of Storyland," he buzzed sadly, "is losing its magical glow. It's the heart that keeps all the stories bright and happy. It keeps the colors colorful and the giggles giggly." He pointed a furry paw towards the distance. Lily could just make out a faint, flickering light. It was much dimmer than she imagined the heart of anything should be. "Someone, or something," Barnaby continued, "has stolen the story sparkles." "Story sparkles?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with concern and excitement. "What are story sparkles?" Barnaby explained that story sparkles were tiny bits of pure imagination. They were the joy, the wonder, and the magic that made stories come alive. Without them, Storyland would fade. The colors would turn gray. The songs would fall silent. The laughter would disappear. "Oh, it's too dreadful to think about," Barnaby wailed, his little wings drooping. "Little human," he said, looking at Lily with big, hopeful eyes. "You look clever and brave. Will you help me find the missing story sparkles?" Lily, of course, said yes immediately. An adventure to save Storyland? It was better than she could have ever dreamed. Barnaby Bumble buzzed with delight, his tiny wings whirring with renewed energy. "Oh, splendid, simply splendid," he cried. "Our first challenge lies just ahead." He led Lily through a grove of lollipop trees. Their branches were heavy with swirly, colorful lollipops. They soon reached the edge of a wide, rushing river. But this was no ordinary river. This river was giggling. The giggling river, as Barnaby called it, chuckled and chortled. It gurgled and guffawed. With every loud giggle, the water would splash and churn. Big, bubbly waves would crash onto the banks. It was impossible to cross. Any little boat would surely be swamped by the mirthful water. "Oh dear," Barnaby sighed, his antennae drooping. "The river is in a particularly jolly mood today. We need to find some chuckleberries. They are the only things that can calm its boisterous laughter. Just for a little while, so we can cross." Barnaby explained that chuckleberries grew on special bushes. These bushes were usually guarded by mischievous tickle sprites. The sprites loved to play hide-and-seek with the berries. Lily looked around. She spotted a patch of bushes with berries that quivered. They looked like tiny red jelly beans. As she approached, tiny, shimmering sprites, no bigger than her thumb, zipped out. They giggled and snatched the berries away. They hid them under leaves and behind rocks. "This is trickier than I thought," Lily exclaimed. But Lily was a clever girl. She remembered the riddles from the whispering woods. She remembered how much she loved games. "Barnaby," she whispered, "I have an idea." She started to sing a silly song, a song about a purple monkey who ate blue bananas. The tickle sprites, who loved anything silly, peeked out from their hiding places. They began to giggle along with her song. While they were distracted, Lily quickly and quietly gathered the chuckleberries. She tossed them into the giggling river. The river's laughter softened to a gentle chuckle. The waves calmed. They could now cross. Section 6. The Snoozing Mountain and Its Sleepy Secret. After successfully crossing the now gently chuckling river on a raft made of giant leaves, Lily and Barnaby continued their quest. Their journey soon brought them to the foot of an enormous mountain. It was so tall that its peak was hidden in the fluffy lavender clouds. This was no ordinary mountain, of course. This was the Sleepy Mountain. And it was snoring, loudly. Great big rumbles and snuffles echoed through the valleys. Each snore shook the ground. It sent pebbles tumbling down its rocky slopes. "Oh, botheration and buzz!" exclaimed Barnaby, dodging a falling pebble. "The Sleepy Mountain is having a rather noisy nap today. Its snores are causing rockfalls, and the path to find the shadow thief goes right over its shoulder." The path was indeed blocked by a pile of freshly fallen rocks. They couldn't climb over it. They couldn't go around it. "We need to wake the mountain up," Barnaby explained, "but gently. If we startle it, it might cause an avalanche of grumpy grumbles." He shivered at the thought. Barnaby told Lily that the only way to wake the Sleepy Mountain gently was to solve its ancient riddle. The riddle was whispered on the wind that swirled around its peak. If they could answer it correctly, the mountain would wake up peacefully. It would clear the path for them. Lily cupped her ears. She listened very carefully. The wind whistled and sighed. It carried faint words through the air. "I have cities but no houses," the wind whispered. "I have mountains but no trees. I have water but no fish." "What am I?" Lily thought hard. "Cities without houses, mountains without trees, water without fish?" Her brow furrowed in concentration. She thought about the maps in her geography books back home. She thought about the globe that sat on her desk. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. "A map!" she cried out. "The answer is a map!" As soon as she spoke the words, a low, rumbling chuckle echoed from the mountain. The snoring stopped. The ground stilled. The pile of rocks on the path slowly, gently, rolled aside, revealing a clear way forward. The Sleepy Mountain had awoken, pleased its riddle was solved. Section 7. Unmasking the Meanings of the Shadow Thief. With the Sleepy Mountain now peacefully awake and the path clear, Lily and Barnaby pressed on. They climbed higher and higher, the air growing cooler. Barnaby explained more about the dastardly villain they were seeking. "The story sparkles," he buzzed, his voice low and serious, "were stolen by the shadow thief. He's a grumpy old fellow. He lives in the gloomiest part of Storyland. He doesn't like happy endings, you see. He prefers stories that are dull and gray, just like his shadowy heart." Lily felt a shiver, but it wasn't just from the cold mountain air. A thief who stole joy and happiness? That sounded truly awful. Why would anyone want to make stories sad? She wondered aloud. Barnaby shook his furry head. Some folks just forget how to be happy, I suppose. Or maybe no one ever showed them how. Their path led them behind a waterfall. But this waterfall wasn't made of sparkling water. Oh no, it was a waterfall of inky black tears. It splashed into a dark, murky pool below. This, Barnaby whispered, was the entrance to the shadow thief's lair. Taking a deep breath, Lily and Barnaby stepped through the curtain of inky tears. Inside, the lair was damp and cold. It was filled with shadows that danced and flickered like nervous ghosts. Faint, sorrowful whispers echoed from the walls. These were the sounds of stolen laughter and forgotten giggles. Piles of faded words lay in dusty corners, their meanings lost. Colors, once bright and vibrant, were now pale and washed out. It was the saddest place Lily had ever seen. It felt like all the joy had been sucked out of the very air. In the center of the gloomy cave, they saw him, the shadow thief. He was a tall, wispy figure. He was made of swirling gray and black shadows. He had long, thin fingers. He was currently trying to snatch a particularly bright sunbeam that had dared to peek into his miserable cave. He grumbled and muttered to himself, "Too bright, too cheerful, must make it duller." He didn't look very scary, Lily thought. He just looked incredibly lonely and very, very sad. This was the creature who held the fate of Storyland in his shadowy hands. Section 8. A Story's Power and Sparkles Restored. The shadow thief turned, his shadowy eyes narrowing as he spotted Lily and Barnaby. "More brightness?" he hissed, his voice like rustling dry leaves. More cheerfulness? I won't have it. Storyland should be quiet. It should be gray. Like me. He clutched a small, dull sack. Lily guessed it held the stolen story sparkles. Barnaby Bumble hid nervously behind Lily's legs, buzzing with fright. But Lily, though a little scared, felt a strange sort of pity for the shadowy figure. He seemed so unhappy. Instead of shouting or demanding the sparkles back, Lily did something unexpected. She took a step forward. "Mr. Shadow Thief," she said, her voice clear and kind, "I know a story. Would you like to hear it?" The Shadow Thief looked surprised. No one had ever offered to tell him a story before. He grumbled, "Stories are silly, full of nonsense." But Lily could see a flicker of curiosity in his shadowy eyes. So she began to tell him a story from her world. A simple story about a lonely little star who made friends with the moon. As Lily told her story, her voice filled with warmth. A tiny light began to glow within the Shadow Thief. It was very faint at first, like a distant candle. She spoke of friendship and kindness. She spoke of how even the smallest light can brighten the darkest night. The Shadow Thief listened intently. He had never heard such a story. His own stories were always full of gloom and despair. When Lily finished, a single shimmering tear, not an inky one, but a clear, sparkling one, rolled down the Shadow Thief's wispy cheek. I just wanted things to be quiet," he whispered, his voice softer now. "The happy stories were so loud, so bright, I felt left out, lonely." Barnaby Bumble peeked out. "Oh, you poor thing," he buzzed sympathetically. Lily smiled gently. "Being happy isn't about being loud," she said. "It's about sharing joy. If you return the story sparkles, Storyland can be happy again. And maybe," she added, "you won't feel so lonely anymore." The Shadow Thief looked at the dull sack in his hands. Then he looked at Lily's kind face. Slowly he nodded. He opened the sack, and a cascade of brilliant, dazzling story sparkles flew out. Section 9. Homeward bound with a heart full of joy. The moment the story sparkles were released, the Shadow Thief's lair began to change. The gloomy shadows receded. Warm light flooded the cave. The faded words in the corners began to glow with their old meanings. The pale colors on the walls burst into vibrant life. Even the Shadow Thief himself seemed less shadowy. He looked lighter, almost translucent, and a tiny, shy smile touched his lips. The story sparkles, giggling with delight, zoomed out of the cave. They flew back towards the heart of Storyland. Lily and Barnaby, with a now much happier Shadow Thief trailing behind them, followed the stream of sparkles. They flew over the no longer sleepy mountain. They zipped across the gently giggling river. They soared through the whispering woods where the trees sang joyful songs. Soon, they reached the heart of Storyland. It was a giant crystal flower. The sparkles swirled around it. They settled onto its petals. The heart began to glow with a brilliant, warm, and wonderful light. Storyland was saved. Colors were brighter, songs were cheerier, laughter echoed everywhere. Barnaby Bumble did a joyful loop-the-loop in the air. "You did it, Lily! You saved Storyland!" he buzzed happily. Even the Shadow Thief, now more of a shimmering friend, smiled. He found he rather liked the bright colors after all. Lily felt a warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just the glow from the heart of Storyland. It was the warmth of knowing she had helped. She had learned something very important. She learned that even the biggest problems can often be solved with a little bit of kindness, and that sharing a story can change everything. Her magical book, which she still held, began to glow softly. It was time to go home. Lily hugged Barnaby Bumble goodbye. She even shook hands with the shimmering friend. "Come visit again," they both called. With a smile, Lily stepped back towards the glowing book. She felt a gentle pull. She tumbled back through the starry tunnel. She landed softly in her dusty attic. The adventure was over, but Lily knew she would never forget Storyland, or the lesson she learned, that kindness is the greatest magic of all, and she always made sure to share her stories and her smiles with everyone she met.